What do we need to know about what is happening in the world in terms of the economy, in terms of social context? I have been picking up a lot of anger and frustration, sadness about just having life difficulties, not being able to keep your head above water. There being a lot of negative energy around government corruption, not being able to meet needs. There's a sense of feeling fooled and used and manipulated and controlled. And yes, many more people are waking up to the fact that the system is rigged. The system is so rigged. It's rigged in the sense that it needs people to keep it going and to feed it. But the people that keep it going and feed it are being kept at a place where they have to continuously feed the system. And you are fed the lies that if you work harder, if you do more, if you play by the rules, that things will get better. But it doesn't. And there's all these illusions. You are fed these illusions. I'm trying to find the words to describe it. So, for instance, it may seem like you're earning more money, but you're not going home with more money, because everything becomes so much more expensive and everything is linked. If one thing is more expensive, everything else becomes more expensive. So you might work harder or get a promotion, or even get a degree, and you might have been say you were a waiter before and you get a degree and now you are in a high-end corporate job and it looks like your life is better. Now you've got a house and a car and all the creature comforts at home. But do you actually have more abundance and more wealth? Because the system is rigged in that way that even though it might seem like you have physically more things, you're still controlled by the system. And it's like you reach a cap that you can't pass. And it's almost like X amount of people are kept at this tier or this level, and X amount at the level above that, and X amount at the level above that, to hold the structure in place. And it's rigged in a way that you can only get to a certain point, and then all the avenues are blocked unless you succumb to certain, let me not say succumb, play along with certain things, and you have to give in to certain things that does not align with your soul, your values, your integrity, your character, to get ahead. And it doesn't have to be anything super toxic. It can be just, for instance, being being a mother and a career woman, for instance, um, you will have to give up your time and energy that you could be um, spending with yourself and your family and your children, and you will have to work so many more hours um, to make it financially and be successful. And ultimately, you get to a point where, um, as a woman, we are engineered, created to be nurturers. We are created to be um, receptive and gentle and free and flowing. But you are forced so far into your masculine energy that there's an imbalance. And at some point, something has to give. Either you'll feel guilt or shame because you are not being um, the type of nurturer and mother and caregiver that you would love to be, because that is what you are at your core essence, or your family structure suffers because you are um, almost forced to bring in the money, be the breadwinner, be in your masculine energy. So somewhere, something, the bottom falls out. And, it may seem like for a period of time it's sustainable, but in the long term, anything that is unbalanced is unsustainable. It cannot be sustained indefinitely, because for something to work, all the parts need to be in place and all the parts need to be working. All the different aspects of you need to be taken care of and nurtured. And that goes for an individual, a family unit, a community, a society, a country, whatever. If one aspect is neglected, eventually the whole thing comes apart. And then I lost my train of thought, but I did pull some cards while I was just channeling that. And the first card I got is the Page of Pentacles. Page is like a novice, a young, immature energy. And pages are about messengers. Okay. We have the Page of Pentacles, and then the Moon, and then the Empress. And I feel like and then I clarified that with the Queen of Pentacles. I feel like what we don't see, because these two cards have pentacles, is that all the abundance in the world is created from energy. All the physical abundance manifestations is created from energy. And we exist as if there is a finite, a limited amount of everything, of resources. And it's almost like we're all scrambling to get a piece of this small, limited pie. But that's not the case. With the moon, that is the illusion that you have to be scrambling, chasing, going after that limited resources that is there. when we can create new things, new ways of attaining what we need, and we don't even have to attain it. We have to learn to create from within. Basically, that is what the Empress, which is the next card, is saying. The Empress is fertile. Um, she births something new. She is abundant. And she doesn't have to work. The Empress doesn't have to work. She doesn't have to effort and labor intensively and extensively. We have the Six of Cups as well, which is about, to me, it's about love and compassion and balance and childlike energy, unconditional love. What we don't understand, or we have forgotten, or we don't realize, is that we create the abundance. Everything that exists didn't exist before. Technology didn't exist before. At some point, money didn't exist. We created that. And yet, here we all are, still clinging to all of these old ways of being and doing things, instead of creating new ways of being and doing things. But with the Six of Cups, it's not about, we have to bring it back to love, because love keeps things in check. It's like the conscience. If everything is just solely focusing on getting and attaining and money driven and external and based on acquiring tangible things, this is where corruption comes in, and nepotism, and being deceitful and dishonest, and there's no compassion, there's no caring, there's no love, there's no integrity. All the positive aspects, positive traits, principles that keep us from living in a toxic life and in a toxic world, that aspect needs to be there. What is coming to mind is that needs to be in place in everything. Love needs to hold things together. What is the intention, the purpose, the motivation behind what we are doing? The Empress is making me think of what happens when children are born. When we, for instance, we get into relationships and, to put it bluntly, we satisfy our carnal needs, just because without a, let's just say, put it plainly, we have sex without love being involved, without there being a foundation, something stable, something committed, something loving, without having a connection that is based in love with someone. When we have sex and a child is produced, usually what happens is the relationship falls apart or never comes together, and this child is born into a world where they are not in a stable, loving environment. And I think a lot of the world's problem comes from that. But when a child is born through love, and there is honesty and trust and stability, safety, all of the aspects that is needed to nurture a young soul, a young child, um, with two loving parents, oh my gosh, we know um, what that produces. A healthy individual that is able to thrive, and doesn't have to deal with trauma and um, extreme hardships and have to struggle. And the same kind of energy needs to carry over into every aspect of our lives. Um, if I am doing something for money out of greed or whatever other negative trait, it just feeds into more negativity and toxicity, which causes conflict and hardship. And it is not sustainable because it is destructive and not constructive. Positivity yields more positivity, negativity yields more negativity. And let's pull some more cards. um, Three of Pentacles. There is a need for more camaraderie, more teamwork, more building together instead of I'm out here trying to get for me what I can and you get for you. And obviously this means that um, I'm gonna do whatever is necessary to get mine. And it's almost like um, there's a war, conflict of interest, and nobody gets anywhere really. It just gets everybody stuck. And it's because we're ego driven, fear based. We don't realize what lies within and beyond what we can see. We have to be able to rise above what we can see. Yes, there is a need to be autonomous and independent, but the word autonomous, I think, it's about being interdependent. You can stand on your own, but you can work together as well. That's balance. Page of Cups. It's like we're sold all these dreams, like this just talk, and your emotions get played on, but there's nothing that really happens from there. The Strength card. It's like you're fed all these things to make you feel like things should be difficult, and that there's some sort of glory in struggle and suffering. How could that be the only way? That could not be the only way. If we learn how to connect with our higher selves, how to connect to the universe and be the high priestess and balance out spirituality and practicality and have healthy relationships, that'll solve so many problems. Two of Pentacles juggling. It feels like you're always um, hopping from one foot to the other while trying to carry everything in two arms and There's just not enough energy. You just don't have enough of what you need to just make things balance out and to succeed. And you always have to be on defense, ready for um, the bottom to fall out. And that's no way to exist. We shouldn't have to exist that way. That is being stuck in a karmic loop. And this is what we need to be moving away from right now. And it's possible. Um, but certain things actually do need to first be exposed and acknowledged and then deconstructed. Thing is, because we sometimes lack the courage, the will, the insight, the foresight, the inner standing, the overstanding as to how to go about it, because it's not ever been done before. We don't, like, we haven't done it before. It's uncharted territory. um, that we hesitate, we doubt, we fear, we don't follow through, we don't stand firm, we don't stand up, we don't speak out. And so it comes to a point where it just falls apart. So now it's destruction instead of deconstruction, instead of us deciding, okay, let's take this thing apart because it's not working and start from scratch and rebuild. And when something falls apart, usually you can't salvage anything. Instead of um, acknowledging, which is difficult because that means we have to acknowledge our own fault and um, point out others' faults, which might not be taken in the best way. But we have to really dig deep and learn how to um, handle these challenging things in a way that is not distorted. It doesn't have to be super painful. It doesn't have to be. Um, it doesn't have to be a death. Although, either way, it's like there's an easy way and there's a hard way, and then um, there's a better way. But either way, it comes back to the same thing. Um, the laws of the universe will always bring things back to balance because that is its natural state. Balance and growth, expansion. Um, that is the nature of existence. And it almost feels like for a long time we have unconsciously or maybe consciously, but in denial, been in a destructive cycle. And we just kept going in that direction, almost just sticking our heads in the sand, hoping for the best. But we need to move forward from a different perspective and a different level of consciousness and doing things in a different way. And I wanted to get more specifics with this reading, but I feel like um, that these underlying principles um, can be understood and applied um, in any aspect on a small and a large scale, individually, personally, or collectively. as a whole. I probably will need to re-listen to this because somehow when you channel, you're just speaking, and it's almost not conscious. And I feel like there are other aspects that need to be covered, but too much at once just gets um, it covers too much, and then the message gets lost. So there will probably be another video to follow this up. um, yeah, I hope this. Sometimes these messages can just trigger one little nugget of insight, or um, something that needs to come to our awareness. And in that moment, you might not actually even be consciously aware of what it means, or have all the answers, or be clear on it. But it just, you feel something click, like a knowing, and then it unfolds in time, over time, gradually, or um, all at once at some point when it needs to. So sometimes I will read a book, or watch a movie, or listen to a podcast or a video, or have a conversation, and then something will be triggered, and they'll be like, oh, that's something I should pay attention to, or um, ooh, that reminds me of something, or um, that's something I needed to hear. Because subconsciously there are things that I have been needing to understand or know, or get clarity on, and then it's almost like the switch has been switched on, and you don't really understand it yet, but you will. So I hope that you find something of that sort um, from listening to this, and I will follow up with another video.